Hey there guys, and welcome back to Dino Reacts. So today we are looking at Friday the 13th part 7. As usual, I'm going to give you guys my positives and my negatives on this movie, just let you know what I thought of it. So without further ado, let's get to it. Let's start reviewing Friday the 13th part 7. This movie follows the character of Tina Shepherd, who it pretty much takes a detour from a lot of Friday the 13th movies before that. She pretty much has telekinesis power, so it feels a lot more like Carrie White versus Jason Voorhees in this movie. I didn't mind that aspect of it. I remember when I was growing up, I actually loved this movie a lot, and it does still hold up for the most part today. The movie opens up with Tina Shepherd as a young girl, kind of back either at Camp Crystal Lake or just kind of around that area, where when she was a little girl, due to her powers, there was a bit of an accident and her father ended up drowning in the lake. After that, we kind of return to present time in that movie, and she's returning to her home with her mother and her doctor just to see, can they get a breakthrough with her condition. Now, it is revealed throughout the movie that her doctor has different intentions. He's not a caring Dr. Loomis type character. He's more there to kind of find out, can he get her telekinesis to work, and more than anything, get money out of it. I will say I did really like the location in this movie. It reminded me a lot of Friday the 13th part 4 because it's pretty much between two houses that are on the lake. I like that about it. Even the teenagers in this movie, they felt like teenagers in part 4. In part 4 we had the Jarvis family in one house and we had a bunch of teenagers partying in the house next door. There's no real exception here. The only difference is we have the Shepherds in one house with Tina, her mother and her doctor, and a whole new cast of teenagers to be killed off in the house next door. And what I liked about this is the teenagers are again quite likeable. We have great additions to it. One in particular is kind of the mean girl in the movie, Melissa. For me, Melissa was a highlight in the movie. She looked great. All the scenes she was in were quite entertaining, and you did kind of love to hate her as you were watching it. Now, what I wanted to throw in here was a common misconception is actually the actress who played her actually died in real life. If you watch a lot of Friday the 13th documentaries, you will see that a lot of people say she died of leukemia, but she's actually alive and well, which is unfortunate that she's not in a lot of the documentaries because of that. But I did really enjoy her in this movie. I thought she was a great addition to put against Tina. Tina in the movie, she's a lot more shy, she's a lot more timid. She constantly kind of gets freaked out because of her visions and telekinesis and runs off into the woods. With Melissa, she'll always give the snarky one-liners, where's she gone or what the hell is she doing? As well as that, the character of Maddie was quite fun. She's kind of like the ugly duckling of the group who gets a makeover halfway through the movie. I really liked her in it. I like characters who you have a little bit of a storyline with. A lot of Friday movies are generally just there to be killed off, so I like if they give you a little bit of a story beforehand. At least when they do get killed off, you care for the character and you might just root for them to escape. Now, I will say that even though the characters in this one did remind me of Friday the 13th part 4, and we do spend a little bit of time with a few of them, they pale in comparison to those characters in the 4th installment. They're not as likeable. You don't really love the cast in this. You can see, they are all friends in the movie, but there's just something missing in this movie with the main set of teenagers. The deaths in this movie are also quite fun also. There's one character in the movie, Ben, who pretty much just gets his head crushed in by Jason. That's probably one of my favourite kills in this film. Not my favourite, that will go to the sleeping bag scene, which is pretty iconic today, where Jason pretty much picks somebody up in a sleeping bag and just whacks them against a tree. That's probably the best kill in the whole franchise, definitely in this movie. But again, there are a lot of fun deaths. Even the character Maddie, she has a great chase scene throughout the movie. Her death is okay, it's pretty basic, but the chase scene itself is quite tense. You don't see that a lot with Friday movies. You generally kind of look for the gore and the special effects. So I liked that her chase scene was quite tense. You didn't know what was going to happen to her until she finally got killed off. One more death I will just mention is the character of Robin, who gets killed in the house they're staying in. So she pretty much just gets thrown out the window of the house they're in. But when they were making the movie, they actually went back to the Jarvis house from Friday the 13th part 4 and filmed it there. I didn't know that until very recently. I just thought it was a fun little fact to throw in if you're ever watching the movie. Now, speaking of the person doing the killing in this movie, we have Kane Hodder, who took over the role as Jason Voorhees and would actually play Jason for many more years to come. Now, for me, I know a lot of people love Kane Hodder. I've never been a huge fan of him. I actually much prefer Jason in part 6 over Jason in this one. There are definitely positives to the Jason in this movie. I love the look of him, you know, the chain around his neck, the fact you can see his ribs coming out under his clothes. I thought that was brilliant, especially because, you know, he's been under the water all this time. He's going to start deteriorating. So I did like those aspects of him. I also thought, you know, he looked great. He was quite menacing. He was quite brutal through the movie. So he reminded me a lot of older Jasons that he took bits and pieces that worked, and he just kind of worked with that. So I like that about him. Saying that though, like, he's never been my favorite Jason. I've never seen the appeal that a lot of people have with him. Kane Hodder, he's a great Jason in my eyes, but there's just no distinction between him and other Jasons that had come before. If anything, my favorite part of the Jason in this movie is his look. Even towards the end of the movie, you know, when they knocked the mask off his face, I've always liked the way he looked. Looking at it, it is aging a little bit, but still, from when I was young, I thought he looked absolutely incredible and terrifying, and that does, for the most part, hold up today. And guys, my final positive with this movie would be that final third act between Tina and Jason. This is pretty much the movie compared to the last 6 where they just threw everything at the wall, went full on action, and for the most part it works very, very well. You know, you're building this movie as kind of a Carrie White versus Jason scenario, and they do exactly that. She is kind of, you know, a nemesis for him. She can hold her own against him, and she does, you know, destroy him in many, many scenes. You get that great scene of, you know, Tina and Jason facing off on the road. She gets the trees and kind of the branches to come out to drag him off before eventually electrocuting him and putting him down. Now, this is Jason Voorhees, so he comes back every single time constantly, no matter kind of what she does. She even blows up a house at one point. He just won't stay dead. But even that final act when they are in the house, there are so many different set pieces that happen before the last act. You know, she throws a balcony roof on him, she's knocking him under stairs. There's a lot going on there. Even when his mask comes off and you see that kind of horrible face underneath, between both of them you're just going back and forth to see who can best the other one. In the end, her father does come up and he actually pulls Jason down into the lake. For me, that was the only little part that I didn't like. I thought it was a little bit hokey. And again, with a lot of the Friday movies going forward from here, it just didn't make a lot of sense. Now, I get, you know, she raised her father up. Maybe you could say that. But then if she can do that, could she not just bring her father back to life? So that didn't really make a lot of sense. Even looking at the father, you know, he just looks like a regular guy, whereas Jason has ribs coming out and he's quite deformed. So with that, guys, we're going to move on to the negatives of this movie. There's not a lot, you know. I did really enjoy this movie, but I do still have some negatives. First negative of this movie was the idea not to bring Tommy Jarvis back. I will never understand why they did not do that, you know, unless they wanted to bring the final girl aspect of it back. But with Friday the 13th Part 6, it was quite successful. It clearly worked really well, so I just don't know why they kept him out of the story. With that though, I did like the character of Tina Shepard. I thought she was a great final girl. At times though, her telekinesis storyline was a little over the top. You know, she kept kind of running out of houses, which was quite annoying after a while in the movie. And also, it just didn't really fit in to the previous 6 movies that had come before that. This is kind of the movie you could say jumped the shark for Friday the 13th, but it does work well so that you can forgive it. But again, at parts, just the telekinesis and the magic powers essentially are a little bit over the top. Also, some of the decisions by characters in this movie are just a little silly. There were a lot of times in this movie where Tina could have just killed Jason and she just kind of walks off constantly, waiting for him to get up again for the next set piece. I didn't really like that. Even like when I was watching the movie, there were a lot of times where I was just shouting at, you know, just kill him now, or just do this, knock the house on top of him. There were a lot of moments where she did just kind of get up and you're like, what are you doing exactly? Another thing I wasn't a huge fan of was the timeline of this movie. You don't really know when exactly it is set. Again, not a huge negative. The Doctor storyline I thought was okay for the most part, but even if you took that out of the movie, it wouldn't have made a huge difference. The fact that Tina were getting visions, that was never actually explained in the movie at all. Telekinesis, I can live with, you know, I can see she has powers, there's some reason for that, but the fact she was getting visions made really no sense at all. All in all though guys, this was a great movie. I would say it's not as great as part 6. There was just something missing in this movie, and it did feel like a retread of part 4. A lot of the teenagers in this, they were fun, they were likeable characters for the most part, but it did remind me so much of part 4 and what it could have been. Would I recommend this movie to you guys? Yes, definitely. I would definitely say watch the others before this, because there are a lot of those that are much better than this one. This does come across as quite hokey, as quite silly, and a lot of special effects work and a lot of them aren't holding up today. So I would recommend the movie for the most part. Check it out, you would enjoy it if you watch it, but just don't go into it as your first Friday movie. So guys, if you like this movie, if you're a fan of Tina Shepherd and that whole telekinesis plot, let me know in the comments below. If you want to see another review, give me a suggestion, I'd be happy to do one for you guys, and don't forget to subscribe. Until next time guys, Heidi ho.